My name is Miles, but everyone calls me Grandpa Milo. I'm 68 years old, and on what should have been one of the happiest moments of my life, the week of our long-awaited family vacation to Europe, everything changed. My own son, Kellen, sent a text that shattered me. "You won't be joining us. Mom prefers to keep it just her family." I stared at that message for a long time. I had paid $42,000, booked the villa, arranged the tours, covered everything. It was supposed to be a dream trip, our last big family memory before I slowed down. But in seconds, I went from father to outsider. So I didn't argue. I didn't call. Instead, I froze the vacation, canceled every booking, demanded a full refund. When they showed up at the airport, there were no tickets, no villa, no car waiting. My phone rang. My son screamed, "What did you do?" And I told him, calmly, "You taught me how families work." I'm going to tell you exactly what happened, how the people I built my life around decided I didn't belong anymore. But before I begin, let me know in the comments, where are you watching this from? To everyone who supports this community, thank you. Your words mean more than you know. And if this is your first time here, do me a favor, like, subscribe, and hit the bell. You're not just joining a channel, you're joining a family that believes no one should suffer in silence. Now, let me tell you my story. It came at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I remember because I was still awake, sitting in my recliner with the TV on mute, going through the itinerary one last time. I do that, obsess over details. It's the accountant in me. 38 years of making sure numbers line up doesn't just go away when you retire. The villa confirmation, the private wine tour in Chianti, the cooking class in Florence my daughter-in-law specifically requested. I had it all printed out in a binder with color-coded tabs. My hands smelled like highlighter ink. My phone buzzed on the armrest. Kellen, "Hey, Dad, need to talk." My stomach dropped before I even read the next message. You know how you just know? When your kid starts with "need to talk" at midnight, it's never good news. Kellen, "There's been a change of plans with the trip." I sat up straighter. My reading glasses slid down my nose. Kellen, "Mom's been feeling really anxious about the group dynamic. She thinks it might be better if it's just her side this time. Less complicated. You understand, right?" I read it twice, then 3 times. Then I read the last message. Kellen, "Sorry, Dad, you won't be joining us. Hope you understand." I didn't move for a long time. The house was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator in the kitchen. Outside, a car drove past, its headlights sliding across my living room wall like a slow exhale. I looked down at the binder in my lap. 12 people, 4 bedrooms in a restored farmhouse outside Siena. A terrace overlooking vineyards I'd spent hours researching because I wanted the view to be perfect. I'd even called the property manager, a woman named Claudia with a thick Italian accent, to ask if the sunrise hit the east side of the terrace in July. Si, Signore Miles," she'd said, laughing. "It's beautiful. Your family will love." I set the binder on the coffee table. My hands were shaking. Not from anger, not yet. From something I couldn't name. I picked up my phone, opened the message thread, stared at my son's words. Mom's side. Not the family. Not everyone. Her side. Like there were teams now. Like I'd been cut from the roster without anyone telling me tryouts were over. I wanted to call him. I wanted to text back something sharp, something that would make him feel a fraction of what I was feeling. But my fingers wouldn't move. My throat felt tight, like I'd swallowed something too big. Instead, I stood up, walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water I didn't drink. I thought about my ex-wife, Diane. Her face when the divorce papers were finalized 16 years ago. Not sad, not angry, relieved. Like she'd been holding her breath for years and finally let it out. She remarried 2 years later to a man named Gerald who owns a chain of car dealerships. Nice guy. Makes her happy. I've never had a problem with him. But somewhere along the way, I stopped being part of the equation. I became Kellen's dad, the kid's father, an obligation at holidays, a check signer, a backup plan. And now, I wasn't even that. I walked back to the living room, sat down, picked up my phone again. I didn't text my son back. I opened my email instead, found the confirmation from the travel agency, scanned through the cancellation policy I'd barely glanced at when I booked everything 3 months ago. Cancellations made less than 14 days prior to departure are subject to fees. I checked the date, 5 days until our flight. I sat there staring at the screen, my chest tight, my jaw clenched so hard my teeth ached. And then I did something I've never done in my entire life. I made a decision without thinking it through, without weighing the consequences, without running the numbers. I closed my email, and I went to bed. But I didn't sleep. I lay there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sound of my own breathing. Somewhere around 3 a.m., a thought came to me. Quiet, cold, clear. If I'm not family, why am I paying for one? I woke up at 5:30 a.m., didn't need an alarm, couldn't sleep anyway. I made coffee, the strong kind, the kind Diane used to complain about, and I sat at my kitchen table with my laptop. I've always been good with numbers. It's how I made sense of the world. You put something in, you get something out. Debits and credits, balanced books, clean columns. So I opened a new spreadsheet, and I started adding it up. Not the money, not yet. The years, child support payments, paid in full. 18 years for 2 kids, never missed a month. Not even when I got laid off in 2011 and had to sell my car to make the payment on time. Birthdays, every single one. Kellen's 32 birthdays. My daughter Simone's 29. I showed up. I brought gifts. I smiled through the awkward dinners where Diane's new husband sat at the head of the table and I sat at the far end like a distant cousin nobody remembered inviting. School events, plays, concerts, graduations, parent-teacher conferences where I sat alone because Diane brought Gerald. Soccer games where I stood on the opposite side of the field so it wouldn't be uncomfortable. Holidays. I hosted Thanksgiving twice. Both times Diane told the kids they could only stay an hour because they had another dinner to get to. They left before dessert. The divorce. I didn't fight for custody. Diane said it would be easier if the kids stayed with her full time, that I could have them every other weekend. I agreed. I wanted to make it easy for them. I typed it all out, row after row, date after date, and then I sat back and looked at the screen. 32 years of showing up, 32 years of being present. And for what? I minimized the spreadsheet, opened my bank account, scrolled through the last 6 months of transactions. June 12th, $850, Kellen's roof repair. He called me panicked because a storm damaged some shingles and he didn't have the cash. I wired it the same day. April 3rd, he won $200. Simone's car registration and insurance. She was between jobs. I told her not to worry about paying me back. February 18th, $2,400, Kellen's son's private school tuition. My grandson, 7 years old. I've paid for 2 semesters now because things are tight. I kept scrolling. Birthday gifts, emergency vet bills for Simone's dog, plane tickets so they could visit me last Christmas. A visit that got canceled 2 days before because Diane was hosting a party and it would be weird if they weren't there. I closed the browser. My coffee had gone cold. I sat there for a long time, staring at my hands. They looked old. When did that happen? The veins stood out like blue rivers under thin skin. My wedding ring was gone. I'd stopped wearing it 10 years ago, but there was still a faint line where it used to be. I thought about my father. He died when I was 40. Heart attack. Quick. I remember standing at his funeral, listening to people talk about what a good man he was, how he worked 2 jobs to keep us fed, how he never complained, and I remember thinking, I want to be like that. I want my kids to say that about me. But what do you do when your kids don't say anything at all? When they just expect you to show up, pay up, Shut up? I opened my phone, scrolled to Kellen's last message. You won't be joining us. Not, we need to talk about this. Not, can we figure something out? Just, you're not coming. A statement. A decision made without me. I thought about calling him. I even started typing a message. Kellen, I don't understand. Did I do something wrong? But I deleted it. Because the truth was, I knew I hadn't. This wasn't about something I did. It was about who I was. The inconvenient ex-husband. The complication. The ghost at the table who made everyone feel guilty just by existing. I'd spent 16 years trying to prove I still mattered, and my son just told me I didn't. I closed the message thread, opened my email, found the travel agency's number, and I made the call. The phone rang 4 times before someone picked up. Good morning. Thank you for calling Prestige Travel Solutions. This is Amanda speaking. How can I assist you today? Her voice was bright, chipper, the kind of customer service tone that makes you feel like you're interrupting someone's great day. Hi, Amanda. My name is Miles Brennan. I have a booking with you. Confirmation number PT447821. I heard typing, a pause. Yes, Mr. Brennan, I see it here. The Tuscany Villa package, departure in 5 days. Are you calling to confirm your airport transfers? No, I said. I'm calling to cancel. The typing stopped. Oh. Her voice shifted, less bright, more careful. I'm sorry to hear that. May I ask if there's an issue with the booking? We can certainly make adjustments if... I need to cancel everything, I said. The villa, the tours, the car service, all of it. There was a long pause. I could hear her breathing on the other end of the line. Mr. Brennan, I want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. You're canceling the entire reservation? For all 12 guests? That's correct. I see. More typing. Faster now. Sir, I need to inform you that cancellations made less than 7 days prior to departure are subject to significant penalties. According to the terms you agreed to at booking, we can refund approximately... She paused. I heard a calculator clicking. Approximately 70% of the total paid. You'd be forfeiting around $12,000. That's fine. Are you sure? Because if this is a matter of needing to reduce the guest count, we can... Amanda. I kept my voice steady, calm. I'm sure. Cancel it. Another pause, longer this time. Mr. Brennan, is everything all right? It was the tone that got me. Not the question, the tone. Soft, concerned, like she could hear something in my voice I wasn't saying out loud. I looked out my kitchen window. The sun was coming up. The tomato plants in my backyard were heavy with fruit I'd probably never pick. My neighbor's sprinklers kicked on, misting the air with tiny rainbows. No, I said quietly, but it will be. I heard her let out a small breath. Okay, I'll process the cancellation right away. You'll receive a confirmation email within the hour, and the refund will be issued to your original payment method within 7 to 10 business days. Thank you. Mr. Brennan? She hesitated. For what it's worth, I'm sorry. Whatever happened. I didn't respond. I just ended the call. And I sat there in my kitchen, phone in hand, feeling something I hadn't felt in a very long time. Control. Not power, not revenge, not satisfaction. Just control. For 16 years, I'd been a passenger in my own life. Showing up when summoned. Paying when asked. Apologizing for existing. Shrinking myself so everyone else could be comfortable. And in one 5-minute phone call, I took it back. I stood up, walked to the sink, finally drank that glass of water I'd poured the night before. My phone buzzed on the counter. Amanda, Prestige Travel. Cancellation confirmed. Refund processing. Wishing you all the best, Mr. Brennan. I stared at the message for a moment. Then I opened my text thread with Kellen. His last message was still there. You won't be joining us. I almost replied. My thumbs hovered over the keyboard. But I didn't. Because here's the thing about being erased. Once you accept it, you disappear. And I wasn't going to disappear quietly. I locked my phone, set it face down on the counter, and for the first time in 48 hours, I felt my shoulders relax. The confirmation email came 20 minutes later. I read through it carefully. Every line item, every refund detail. My training kicked in. I cross-referenced it with my original booking receipt. Everything checked out. $41,000, minus the penalty fees and administrative costs. Still more than enough. I closed my laptop, poured myself another cup of coffee, and I waited. Because in 3 days my son and his mother and her side of the family would show up at the airport with their luggage and their passports and their excitement, and they'd find out that the villa didn't exist anymore, that the tours were canceled, that the dream vacation they'd planned, the one they thought they were taking without me, was gone. I didn't feel good about it. I didn't feel bad about it either. I just felt awake. Like I'd been sleepwalking for 16 years and somebody finally turned the lights on. My phone stayed silent for 2 days. No one called, no one checked in, no one asked how I was doing, or if I'd gotten Kellen's message, or if I needed to talk. Nothing. And that told me everything I needed to know. On the 3rd day, 2 days before the flight, I got a text from Simone. Simone, "Hey Dad, so excited for the trip. Thank you again for everything. You're the best." I stared at it. She didn't know. Kellen hadn't told her I was uninvited. Or maybe he had, and she just didn't care. I didn't respond. I just set my phone down. And I went outside to water my tomato plants. Just a quick breather. Smash that like button, subscribe, and tap the bell so you never miss a story. Okay, let's move on. The silence was louder than I expected. 2 days, 48 hours between the cancellation and the flight, and my phone stayed dark. No calls, no texts, no one asking if I was okay. I went to the grocery store on Thursday morning, bought the same things I always buy: chicken breasts, broccoli, rice, the good coffee that's too expensive, but I buy it anyway because it's the one thing I don't compromise on anymore. The cashier was a young woman, maybe 25, with purple streaks in her hair and a name tag that said Bree. She scanned my items and made small talk about the weather. I nodded, smiled, paid with my card. As I was leaving, she called out, "Have a great day, sir." And I realized that was the only conversation I'd had in 2 days. I drove home slowly. The speed limit is 35 on my street, but I did 28. I wasn't in a hurry. There was nothing waiting for me. When I pulled into my driveway, Mrs. Chen from next door was watering her roses. She waved. I waved back. She didn't come over to chat like she usually does. Maybe she could tell I wasn't in the mood. Or maybe I've gotten good at looking fine when I'm not. I brought the groceries inside, put everything away in its place: chicken in the freezer, vegetables in the crisper, coffee in the cabinet over the sink. My house is clean. Always has been. Diane used to say I was obsessive about it. "You fold your socks, Miles. Who folds socks?" She said it like it was a character flaw, like wanting things organized made me less than. I sat down at my kitchen table with a sandwich I didn't taste and looked at my phone. Still nothing. I opened the family group chat, the one Kellen created 3 years ago called Brennan Bunch. I scrolled up through months of messages. Diane, "Gerald and I are thinking of repainting the living room. Thoughts on sage green?" Kellen, "Sounds great, Mom." Simone, "Ooh, yes, very on trend." Me, "Nice choice." No one responded to my message. The conversation just kept going. Kellen, "Hey, everyone, reminder that the Italy trip is coming up. Make sure passports are current." Diane, "So excited. Gerald's never been to Tuscany." Simone, "Can't wait. Thanks again, Dad." Me, "Looking forward to it. Again." Nothing. My words just sat there like stones at the bottom of a river. I kept scrolling. Diane, Kellen, did you get that thing I sent you about the school fundraiser? Kellen. Yep, already donated. Diane. You're such a good son. I closed the app, set my phone face down on the table, and I did something I hadn't done since the divorce. I cried. Not big, dramatic sobs, just quiet tears that slipped down my face while I sat there alone in my kitchen, staring at a half-eaten sandwich. Because it wasn't just the trip. It was all of it. Every holiday where I was the outsider. Every birthday where I arrived early and left early so I wouldn't be in the way. Every phone call with my kids that lasted 5 minutes because they were busy, but then I'd see them post pictures of family dinners I wasn't invited to. I'd been erased slowly, carefully, politely, and I'd let it happen because I thought if I just kept showing up, kept paying, kept smiling, eventually I'd earn my way back in. But you can't earn love from people who've already decided you don't belong. I wiped my face with the back of my hand, stood up, threw the rest of my sandwich in the trash, and I went outside. My backyard isn't big, maybe a 1/4 acre, but it's mine. I've got the tomato plants that Simone gave me. They're taller than me now, heavy with red fruit, a small herb garden with basil and rosemary, a bird bath that I fill every morning. I stood there in the sun, listening to the neighborhood sounds, a lawnmower in the distance, a dog barking, kids laughing somewhere down the street. Normal life, happening all around me, while mine was falling apart. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out. Simone. Dad, are you flying out of the same airport as us? Want to share an Uber? I stared at the message. She still didn't know. I typed out a response. No, sweetie, I won't be there. Then I deleted it. I didn't owe her an explanation. Not yet. Instead, I wrote, you should check with your brother about the details. I hit send. 3 dots appeared immediately. She was typing. Simone. Okay, see you at the villa then. The heart emoji felt like a knife. I put my phone back in my pocket, and I stood there in my backyard under the sun, surrounded by the things I'd kept alive, and I made a decision. I wasn't going to warn them. I wasn't going to call. I wasn't going to explain. I wasn't going to give them a chance to talk me out of it or guilt me into fixing it. For once in my life, I was going to let them feel something. Let them show up and find nothing. Let them panic. Let them wonder. Let them realize, just for a moment, what it's like to be left behind. That night, I poured myself 2 fingers of bourbon, something I hadn't done since my father's funeral. I sat on my back porch and watched the sun go down, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not happiness, not satisfaction, just peace. The quiet kind that comes when you finally stop pretending everything's okay. The call came at 6:32 a.m. I was awake. I'd been awake since 5. Couldn't sleep. I made coffee and sat in my kitchen, watching the clock, knowing what was coming. When my phone rang, I let it ring 3 times before I answered. Hello? Dad. Kellen's voice was sharp, panicked. I could hear chaos in the background. Multiple voices talking over each other, the distant hum of airport announcements. Where are you? I took a sip of my coffee. It was still hot. Perfect temperature. I'm at home, son. Home? What do you mean you're at home? We're at the airport. The flight leaves in 2 hours. I know what time the flight leaves. Then why aren't you... He stopped. I heard him breathing hard. Dad, something's wrong. The kiosks aren't pulling up our reservations. None of them. Not the flights, not the villa, nothing. The agent said everything's been canceled. I didn't say anything. Dad? I'm here. Did you... His voice dropped, colder. Did you do something? I did exactly what you told me to do, Kellen. What are you talking about? You told me I wasn't family, so I stopped paying for one. There was a beat of silence. Then, you canceled everything? I heard a woman's voice in the background. Diane, shrill. What? What did he do? What the hell is wrong with you? Kellen was shouting now, full volume. I pulled the phone away from my ear. Do you have any idea what you've done? There are 12 people here. We have luggage. We took time off work. Yes, I said quietly. I'm aware. Mom is losing her mind. Simone is crying. The kids don't understand. That's unfortunate. Unfortunate. Dad, we don't have another $40,000 just lying around. Neither do I, son. That's why I got a refund. A ref? He choked on the word. You can't just do that. You can't just cancel a trip for 12 people without telling anyone. Why not? I asked. You uninvited me without telling anyone. Silence. I heard muffled voices. Diane saying something I couldn't make out. Kellen's wife, Jenna, asking what was happening. My grandson, 7 years old, his little voice confused. Why isn't Grandpa Milo coming? That one hurt, but not enough to change my mind. Dad. Kellen's voice was different now, tight, controlled. This is insane. You're being vindictive. This isn't you. You're right, I said. The old me would have swallowed it, smiled, pretended it didn't hurt. But I'm not that person anymore. So what? You're punishing all of us because your feelings got hurt? No, Kellen. I'm teaching you a lesson your mother should have taught you a long time ago. What lesson? That actions have consequences. I heard Diane in the background, louder now. Give me the phone. Give me the phone. There was rustling. Then her voice, tight and venomous. You selfish bastard. I closed my eyes, took a breath. Hello, Diane. What the hell do you think you're doing? You think this is funny? You think ruining our vacation makes you some kind of hero? I didn't ruin anything, I said. I just stopped funding it. You did this to hurt me, to get back at me because you can't stand that I'm happy, that I moved on. This has nothing to do with you. Bullshit, she was screaming now. I pictured her in the middle of the terminal, face red, making a scene. You've always been a miserable, petty man, Miles. This is exactly why I left you, because you can't stand to see anyone else happy. I should have hung up. I should have ended the call right there. But I didn't. Diane, I said calmly, I've spent 16 years making your life easier. I paid child support on time, early even. I never fought you on custody. I showed up for every birthday, every holiday, every event, even when you made it clear I wasn't wanted. I've been nothing but cooperative, nothing but present. So what? You want a medal? No, I said. I want acknowledgement. I want to be treated like I matter. But since that's clearly too much to ask, I'll settle for this. You don't get to take my money and erase me at the same time. You're unbelievable. I'm done, Diane. That's what I am. I heard her breathing, sharp, angry breaths. You're going to regret this, she said. Maybe, I said, but at least I'll regret it on my terms. And I hung up. My hand was shaking. I set the phone on the table and stared at it, half expecting it to ring again. It didn't. I sat there in my kitchen, in the quiet, in the morning light, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Free. The messages started an hour later. Kellen, you just destroyed this family. Hope you're proud. Simone, Dad, why would you do this? I don't understand. We didn't do anything to you. Diane, you're a bitter, angry man. I'm telling everyone what you did. Jenna, Kellen's wife. Miles, this is cruel. The kids are devastated. I read each one, didn't respond. Then came the voicemail from Simone. I almost didn't listen to it, but I pressed play. Her voice was thick with tears. Dad, I don't understand. Did I do something wrong? Kellen said you canceled everything because you were mad, but I don't even know what happened. I thought we were all going together. I was so excited to spend time with you, and now everyone's upset and I feel like it's my fault and I just... She broke off crying. Please call me back. Please. I just want to understand. I closed my eyes. This was the hard part. Simone didn't send the text. Simone didn't uninvite me. She was collateral damage in a war she didn't start. But she also didn't ask questions when I wasn't on the group planning calls. She didn't notice when my name stopped appearing in the itinerary emails. She didn't think to check in with me before the trip. She just assumed I'd be there, because I'm always there, until I'm not. I deleted the voicemail, not because I didn't care, but because if I listened to it again, I'd break. My brother, Marcus, called that afternoon. "Miles, what the hell did you do?" I sighed. "Let me guess. Diane called you." "She called everyone. She's telling people you sabotaged a family vacation out of spite, that you're having some kind of breakdown." "And what do you think?" He was quiet for a moment. "I think you don't do things without a reason. So what happened?" I told him. Everything. The text from Kellen, the cancellation, the call from the airport. When I finished, Marcus let out a low whistle. "Jesus, Miles." "Yeah. You know everyone's going to think you're the villain here, right?" "I know. And you're okay with that?" I looked out my kitchen window. The sun was setting. The sky was orange and pink and purple, the kind of sunset people take pictures of and post online with captions about gratitude. "Marcus," I said, "I spent 16 years being the good guy, being cooperative, being understanding, and you know what it got me? A text message telling me I'm not family." "So you burned it all down?" "No," I said. "I just stopped pretending." He sighed. "For what it's worth." "I get it. I don't know if I'd have the guts to do it, but I get it." "Thanks." "But Miles, this is going to get worse before it gets better." "I know." We hung up. He was right. The next day, I got an email from Diane. Subject line, "You owe us." I almost didn't open it, but I did. "Miles, since you decided to cancel the trip without consulting anyone, you've put us in an impossible position. We had to scramble to rebook flights and accommodation, and it cost us an additional $18,000. Money we don't have. You need to reimburse us. This is your fault. You caused this, and you're going to fix it. Wire the money by Friday or I'm taking you to court." Diane. I read it twice. Then I laughed. Not a happy laugh. A hollow, disbelieving laugh. She wanted me to pay for their replacement trip. The trip I wasn't invited to. I closed the email. And I wrote back. One sentence. "I don't fund vacations I'm not welcome on. Good luck in court." I hit send, blocked her email, and I sat there in the silence of my house, feeling something settle in my chest. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't sad. I was just done. That night I made myself dinner. A real dinner. Pan-seared salmon, roasted vegetables, a glass of wine. I set the table. Used the good plates. I ate slowly, tasted every bite, and for the first time in a long time I didn't feel lonely. I felt alone. And there's a difference. Lonely is wanting someone there. Alone is being okay with the silence. I was okay with the silence. 3 weeks passed, no calls, no texts, no apologies, just silence. I fell into a routine. Work, I still did consulting for a few small businesses, kept my brain sharp, groceries every Thursday, coffee with Marcus on Saturday mornings at the diner on 5th Street. I started journaling, something my therapist suggested years ago that I never actually did. But now, I filled pages, all the things I never said out loud, all the hurt I swallowed, all the moments I minimized myself to make room for everyone else. It helped. On a Tuesday afternoon, I was in my backyard pulling weeds from the herb garden when I heard the front doorbell ring. I wasn't expecting anyone. I stood up, brushed the dirt off my knees, and walked around to the front of the house. My daughter was standing on my porch. Simone looked thin, thinner than I remembered. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail and her eyes were red-rimmed like she'd been crying recently. She wore an oversized sweater and jeans, and she was holding her car keys so tight her knuckles were white. "Hi, Dad." I froze. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. I nodded, stepped aside. She walked past me into the living room and stood there awkwardly like she wasn't sure if she was allowed to sit. "Sit," I said. "I'll make tea." I went to the kitchen, put the kettle on, grabbed 2 mugs. My hands were shaking slightly and I didn't know why. When I came back, she was sitting on the edge of the couch, staring at her hands. I set her tea on the coffee table, sat in my recliner across from her. We didn't speak for a long moment. "I'm sorry," she finally said. "For what?" "For not asking questions." Her voice cracked. "For not noticing you weren't on the planning calls. For not checking in with you before the trip. For just assuming you'd always be there." I nodded slowly. "I didn't know," she continued. "About Kellen's text. About Mom uninviting you. I swear, Dad, I didn't know until we were at the airport and everything fell apart. And when Kellen told me what happened, She wiped her eyes. I felt sick. "Simone." "No, let me finish." She looked up at me, and her eyes were swimming with tears. "You've always been there. Every birthday, every recital, every time I needed help. And I took it for granted. I took you for granted. Because you were always so steady, so reliable. I thought you'd always just be there." "I was," I said quietly, "until I wasn't." She nodded. "And I don't blame you. For what you did. I was angry at first, I'm not going to lie. But then I started thinking about all the times we left you out. All the holidays where you were an afterthought. All the family photos where you weren't in the frame because it was easier if you weren't there." She took a shaky breath. "Mom's been—" She struggled with the words. "She's been rewriting history for years, Dad. Telling us you were the one who didn't care. That you chose work over us. That the divorce was your fault because you weren't present. And I believed her. We both did. Because it was easier than admitting she was the one who left." I felt something tighten in my chest. "And Kellen," she continued, "he's so desperate for Mom's approval that he'll do anything she asks, including uninviting his own father from a trip his father paid for." "I'm not angry at you, Simone," I said. "You should be." "Maybe, but I'm not." She finally picked up her tea, took a sip, set it back down. "I don't know if we can fix this," she said. "I don't know if Kellen will ever apologize. He's stubborn, like Mom, and he's convinced himself that what he did was justified, that you overreacted." "And what do you think?" I asked. She looked at me for a long moment. "I think you spent 16 years making yourself small so we could be comfortable, and we didn't even notice." Her words hung in the air between us. "I don't expect forgiveness," she said. "I don't expect anything. I just wanted you to know that I see it now. I see what we did. And I'm sorry." I nodded. We sat there in silence for a while. Not uncomfortable. Just present. "I'm in therapy now," she said eventually. "Trying to work through some things. About Mom. About the divorce. About how I've been living my life on autopilot. Just trying to keep everyone happy." "That's good," I said. "Yeah." She smiled a little. "It's hard, but it's good." She stood up. "I should go, but can I come back? Maybe we could get coffee sometime? Just us?" "I'd like that," I said. She walked to the door, paused. "Dad? Yeah? You deserved better. From all of us." And then she left. I stood there in my living room for a long time after she was gone. And I realized something. This wasn't about revenge. It was never about revenge. It was about finally refusing to disappear. That night, after Simone left, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying her words. "You spent 16 years making yourself small so we could be comfortable." Was that true? I got out of bed at 2 a.m. and went to the closet in my spare bedroom. The one I never use. The one that's become a storage space for things I can't quite throw away. I pulled down a box from the top shelf. Dusty, taped shut. I carried it to the kitchen table and opened it. Photo albums. The old kind, with plastic sleeves and cardboard pages that stick together. I hadn't looked at these in years, maybe a decade. I opened the first one. There I was, 32 years old, holding newborn Kellen in the hospital. My face was young, hopeful, terrified. Diane was in the bed behind me, exhausted but smiling. We looked like people who believed in forever. I turned the page. Kellen's first birthday. I was on the floor with him, helping him smash a cake with his tiny hands. Diane was laughing in the background, camera in hand. More pages, more birthdays. Christmas mornings. Beach vacations. The four of us, me, Diane, Kellen, and Simone, standing in front of the Grand Canyon. Simone was maybe 5, sitting on my shoulders, her hands in my hair. I looked happy. We looked like a family. I kept turning pages. And then I noticed something. Around the time Simone turned 7, about a year before the divorce, I started disappearing from the photos. Not completely, but I was in fewer of them. And when I was there, I was always on the edge of the frame, standing slightly apart, not touching anyone. There was one from Kellen's 10th birthday party. He's blowing out candles. Diane's on one side of him, her hand on his shoulder. Her new boyfriend, the one before Gerald, was on the other side, grinning like he belonged there. I was in the background, blurry, holding a paper plate. I stared at that photo for a long time. I'd taken the day off work for that party. Driven 3 hours because they'd moved to a new house and I hadn't learned the route yet. I brought the gift Kellen asked for. A bike, expensive, the one with the gears he wanted. But in the photo, I'm a ghost. I closed the album, opened another one. This one was worse. Simone's high school graduation. I'm in exactly one photo. I'm sitting 3 rows behind Diane and Gerald. You can barely see my face. The photographer had tried to get a family shot afterward, but Diane said, "Let's keep it simple," and posed with just the kids and Gerald. I wasn't in that picture. I remembered standing there watching them smile for the camera and telling myself it was fine, that I didn't need to be in every photo, that what mattered was being present, not being seen. But I did need to be seen. I just didn't know how to ask for it. I kept going through the albums, year after year, holiday after holiday, and a pattern emerged. Every time I was in a photo, I was doing something. Carrying luggage, setting up a tent, grilling burgers, holding coats. I was useful, but I was never just there. Never just sitting with them. Never just being part of the moment. I was the help, the hired hand at my own family gatherings. I closed the last album and sat back in my chair. The kitchen was dark except for the light over the table. The house was silent. Outside, a car drove past, its headlights sweeping across my wall, and I understood something I'd been avoiding for 16 years. The divorce didn't end my marriage. It ended my place in the family. Diane didn't just leave me. She erased me, carefully, methodically, year by year, and I let her, because I thought if I just kept showing up, kept being useful, kept not making waves, eventually I'd earn my way back in. But you can't earn your way into a family that's already decided you're optional. I looked at the photos spread across my table, all these moments, all these years, and I realized I'd been mourning the wrong thing. I wasn't mourning the trip to Italy. I was mourning 30 years of being tolerated instead of wanted. I gathered up the albums, put them back in the box, taped it shut, and I carried it back to the closet. But this time, I didn't put it on the top shelf. I put it by the door, to donate, to give away, because I didn't need those photos anymore. They were evidence of a life I was never going to get back, and maybe that was okay. 6 weeks after the airport incident, my phone rang at 7 p.m. on a Sunday. Kellen. I stared at his name on the screen for 4 rings before I answered. "Hello? Dad?" His voice was different, quieter, no anger, no sharpness, just tired. "Kellen." Silence. I waited. "Can we talk?" he asked. "We are talking." "I mean, really talk, in person. Can I come over?" I looked around my living room. It was clean. It was always clean. Nothing out of place. "When?" I asked. "Now. I'm already in your driveway." I walked to the window. pulled back the curtain. His car was there, engine off. I could see him in the driver's seat, phone to his ear, staring at my front door. "All right," I said. "Come in." I hung up, unlocked the door, went back to my chair. A moment later, he knocked. "It's open." He came in slowly, stood in the doorway like he wasn't sure he was allowed to enter. "Sit," I said. He sat on the couch, same spot Simone had sat in weeks ago. He looked older, lines around his eyes I hadn't noticed before. His hair was thinner on top. When did my son start looking middle-aged? "I've been trying to figure out what to say," he started. "I've written it out probably 10 times, practiced in the car, but now I'm here and I don't know where to start." "Start with the truth," I said. He nodded, looked down at his hands. "I was a coward," he said, "with the text, with how I handled it, with everything." I didn't respond. "Mom asked me to uninvite you." He said it quickly, like ripping off a bandage. "She didn't want you on the trip. She said it would be awkward having you there with Gerald, that it would make everyone uncomfortable. And He stopped, swallowed. "I agreed with her, because it's always been easier to agree with her." "Why?" I asked. "Because she's loud, and you're not." He looked up at me. Growing up, whenever there was conflict, she'd make it a whole thing. Drama, tears, everyone walking on eggshells. But you'd just go quiet. You'd retreat. And we learned that if we kept Mom happy, life was peaceful. So that's what we did. Even if it meant sacrificing me. He flinched. "Yes." The word hung between us. "I told myself it wasn't a big deal," he continued, "that you'd understand, that you'd just accept it like you always accept things. I didn't think you'd—" He gestured vaguely. "I didn't think you'd cancel everything." "What did you think I'd do?" "Nothing," he said quietly. "I thought you'd do nothing, because that's what you always do." I felt that land in my chest, not like a punch, like a truth I'd been avoiding. "You're right," I said. He looked surprised. "I've spent decades doing nothing," I continued, "accepting things, staying quiet, making myself easy to overlook, so I don't blame you for thinking I'd do it again." "Dad, but I'm not that person anymore, Kellen. I can't be, because that person was disappearing, and I didn't even notice until he was almost gone." Kellen's eyes were red now. He wasn't crying, but he was close. "I've been angry at you for weeks," he said. "Angry that you humiliated us at the airport, that you made Mom look bad, that you cost us money and ruined the trip. But then Simone came back from seeing you and she said something that I can't stop thinking about." "What did she say?" "She said, 'He's been apologizing for existing for 16 years, and we never even noticed.'" His voice cracked. "And she was right. You have been, and I never saw it, because I was too busy keeping Mom happy." He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "I don't know if I can fix this," he said. "I don't know if you even want me to try, but I need you to know. I see it now. I see what we did, what I did, and I'm sorry." I nodded slowly. "I don't need you to forgive me today," he added quickly. "I don't even know if I deserve forgiveness, but I want to try. If you'll let me, I want to actually show up, not just when it's convenient, not just when Mom approves, but really show up." "How?" I asked. "I don't know yet," he admitted, "but I want to figure it out, with you, if you're willing." I looked at my son, really looked at him. He looked scared, vulnerable, like a kid who knows he messed up and doesn't know how to make it right. And I realized I could end this right now. I could stay angry, stay distant, make him work for it, make him hurt the way I hurt. Or I could choose something different. "Okay," I said. "Okay? Okay, we can try." The relief on his face was immediate. His shoulders dropped. He exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for weeks. "Thank you," he said. "But Kellen." "Yeah?" "This isn't going back to how it was. We're not pretending it didn't happen. We're not sweeping it under the rug. If we're going to rebuild this, it has to be different, better, real. I know, he said. I want that too. We sat there for a moment, not hugging, not crying, just sitting. Can I ask you something? He said. Go ahead. Why did you really cancel the trip? Was it just because of the text? Or was it bigger than that? I thought about it. It was the last straw, I said finally, but it wasn't the first. It was 30 years of being optional, of being the backup plan, of showing up and being ignored. The text just made it impossible to pretend anymore. He nodded. I get that now. Good. 4 months later, Kellen and I took a trip. Just the two of us. A cabin upstate, 3 days, no phones. We left them in the car. No agenda, no itinerary, just time. The first day was awkward. We didn't know how to be alone together. We'd never really done it before. Our whole relationship had always been buffered by other people. Diane, the kids, Simone, family gatherings where we could hide in the crowd. But here, in a cabin in the woods with nothing but silence, we had to actually talk. We went fishing the first morning, sat on a dock with our lines in the water, not catching anything, not really trying to. I don't remember the last time we did this, Kellen said. We've never done this, I said. He looked at me. Really? Really? You were always too busy, or I was working, or your mom had plans. He was quiet for a long time. Then, I'm sorry, I don't have better memories with you. We're making them now, I said. And we did. We cooked terrible meals together. Burned bacon, overcooked pasta, laughed about it. We played cards. I taught him how to play gin rummy the way my father taught me. We sat on the porch at night, drinking beer, not talking, just listening to the woods. And slowly, something shifted. On the last night, we built a fire in the fire pit outside. The sky was clear, stars everywhere. I talked to a therapist, Kellen said out of nowhere. I looked at him. After everything happened, Jenna made me go, said I needed to work through some stuff. He poked the fire with a stick. She was right. I've been carrying a lot of guilt. About you. About how I treated you. About choosing Mom's comfort over your dignity. That's a good way to put it, I said. The therapist said something that stuck with me. She said, you can't undo the past, but you can choose what you do with the present. He looked at me. So that's what I'm trying to do. Choose better. Show up better. You're doing okay, I said. Yeah? Yeah. We sat there in silence. The fire crackled. An owl hooted somewhere in the distance. I told Mom I'm done being her messenger, he said, that if she has a problem with you, she needs to handle it herself, that I'm not picking sides anymore. How'd she take it? Not well. He laughed dryly. But that's not my problem. I'm 41 years old. It's time I stopped letting her dictate my relationships. I nodded. That's growth. Feels weird, he admitted, but good weird. The fire burned low. We let it die naturally, didn't add more wood, just watched the embers glow in the dark. Dad? Yeah? I know I can't fix the past 16 years. I know I can't undo the hurt, but I want you to know, you matter. To me, to Simone, to my kids, and I'm sorry it took me this long to show it. I felt something tighten in my throat. Thank you, I said. And one more thing? What's that? Next year, let's plan a trip. Just us again. Somewhere new. Your choice. I'd like that, I said. We sat there until the embers turned to ash. 3 months after that, Simone and I started having coffee once a month. Real coffee. Real conversations. She told me about her therapy, about unpacking her relationship with Diane, about learning to set boundaries. I told her about my life, the small things, the garden, the consulting work, the book I'd been reading. We didn't talk about the past every time. Sometimes we just talked about nothing, and that was okay. She asked me once if I forgave her. I said yes. Because I did. Not because she earned it through suffering, but because holding on to it was killing me. Forgiveness wasn't for her. It was for me. She tried reaching out once, sent me a long email about moving forward and letting go of grudges. I didn't respond. Some bridges are meant to stay burned. I'm 68 years old. I spent 40 years building a life around people who didn't see me. But now, I'm building a life around people who do. My son calls me every Sunday. Not because he has to, because he wants to. My daughter stops by unannounced, brings pastries, sits on my porch. My grandson asked if I'd teach him to fish. So we're planning a trip in the spring. It's not perfect. We're still figuring it out, still learning how to be a family that's honest instead of comfortable. But it's real. And that's enough. I'm standing in my kitchen again, same window, same sunrise. But this time, Kellen's in the other room making breakfast, burning toast, cursing under his breath. I can hear him laughing at himself, and I realize this is what I was fighting for. Not the old family, not the version where I had to shrink to fit, but this, the messy, imperfect, honest version, the one where I get to take up space. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if Diane will ever apologize. I don't know if the hurt will ever fully go away. But I know this. I'm not a ghost anymore. I'm here, present, seen. And for the first time in 16 years, that's enough. If you made it this far, thank you. For listening. For seeing me. Drop a comment and let me know. Have you ever had to set a boundary that cost you something? How did it change you? And if this story resonated with you, please subscribe, like, and share it. Because someone out there needs to hear this. You are allowed to take up space. You are allowed to be seen. You are allowed to stop apologizing for existing. Until next time, this is Grandpa Milo, reminding you that family isn't about blood. It's about who shows up and who lets you stay.